Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Carrow Road. Early start for everyone today as Norwich City host Blackburn at midday. Obviously, this game televised, and it is going to be an intriguing afternoon for a multitude of reasons. Probably no bigger than David Wagner, which obviously will bring you the team news when it drops in a couple of minutes' time. But we're in receipt of the match day programme, and within that is a column from Zoe Webber, and I'm just going to read you a few of the quotes in there before we get to the team news. It starts with, like you, we're disappointed with our recent run of results, but we remain committed to achieving our objectives this season. To be outside of the promotion places at this point in the campaign falls below our expectations, and we are well aware that performances have not been at the level required. We know we must improve. Expectations at this club are high, and everyone strives to improve every day. When we experience difficult moments, we must remain united and support each other in order to find a solution. David Wagner and his coaching staff are an integral part of that, and we have to show solidarity. Everyone has challenging moments in their professional lives, and we're here to help support him in every way possible. A poor run of form naturally brings scrutiny on any head coach, and David is no different. At Norwich City, we're committed to having a stable environment for our employees, players, and coaching staff to thrive in. We will do everything we can to provide that platform. And then it goes on to speak a little bit about the injuries before speaking about two massive games before the international break. So, Paddy, before we come to the team news, which is going to drop in a moment, just give us your reflection on those words from Zoe Webber in her column today.
Well, it doesn't suggest that they're really contemplating, which was what the messaging that was communicated to me after Sunderland, a change. And that's fine, and that's her view, and we'll assume that's representative of the board and the people around her and the executive. But what's the view of 22,000 or so Norwich fans here today? If it's a continuation of this depressing theme, both in result and performance, I think it'll be dramatically different. And then, then we'll see whether that changes that view inside the Carrow Road boardroom. But
would you like the team? Because
yes,
the team is here. I'll bring it to you. And this is how Norwich City line up this afternoon. Long in goal. Stacey, Duffy, Warner and Yanulis as the back four. Sarah and Kenny McLean as the midfield two. John Rowe and Onel Hernandez on either flank, with Marcelino Nunez behind Huang Yuzhou. So just to run through that again, that looks like a 4-2-3-1. Long in goal. Stacey, Duffy, Warner and Yanulis as the back four. Sarah and McLean as the midfield two. Rowe and Hernandez on either side, with Nunez behind Huang. The subs bench, Reyes, who of course has been recalled from his loan from Braintree Town, Kellen Fisher, Sam McCallum, Danny Bart, Christian Fashnak, Liam Gibbs, Borja Sainz, Shemisław Poeta and Adam Ida. Jayden Warner in for Ben Gibson. Pad, your thoughts on that?
Well, one of us on this broadcast might have had a sense that was going to happen earlier in the week, and you've been proved right. But of those 11, I think I got 10 of those in the paper. I thought he might go nuclear and go Duffy out and Bart in alongside Warner. He's retained Shane Duffy, but the other 10, that's how I thought he'd go up. Over Ida, well, on the evidence of what we saw at Wearside, capped by his goal, I don't think you could dispute that. I think Nunez is worth another go in the 10. He clearly doesn't feel Sainz is quite ready from the start, so Hernandez, so can see that in terms of where his thinking is. Specifically with Warner, well, it's more of the same, isn't it? 1-2 skip a few, and we never saw him in any matchday squad since he impressed at Fulham in the League Cup, and that was strange, but clearly still wanted to put his trust in Duffy and Gibson. No longer could do that with Gibson, who's got this metatarsal injury. So back you come, Jayden Warner, not only back you come into the squad for the first time since Fulham, back you go into the 11. And that, for me, is symptomatic of a head coach, to quote him, with his back against the wall, because that is a brave call, and it probably long overdue in terms of Jayden Warner getting a go off the back of all we can rate him on, which was what he looked like, pretty accomplished. Thank you. Pretty comfortable against Fulham, and I know it was the League Cup, and I know Fulham made a few changes, but still had some very good attacking players on show that night, and he looked very calm, very composed in possession. Hard to make any definitive judgment off what we saw at Craven Cottage, but certainly subsequently what's happened, and particularly with the focus on the centre-backs, joint worst goal-scoring record in the Championship, crying out for a change at the heart of that central defence. And if it's by dint of an injury to Gibson, then so be it. But
is Shane Duffy fortunate?
Absolutely.
It wasn't an own goal officially, but he had a hand in the first goal. Major Rick for the third goal. He must be pretty fortunate to still be in there.
As I say, for me, it was a day for Danny Bart today. I don't know, there'll be those who say, well, Bart is much of a muchness with Gibson and Duffy, but the difference is those two have had plenty of opportunities. He hasn't. in this setting, championship settings, since he arrived at Norwich. So, yeah, but I guess if you're looking at this equation now and you're putting in a Warner for his league debut, you're probably looking at it and think, well, maybe the added experience of a Duffy. I know Bart has been around the block as well, but Duffy might be a better mix. I'm sure there's a right and a left-footed element to it as well. So, and the partnership and how that's going to work, the mechanics of that. But purely in terms of his form, capped by what we saw from him at Sunderland, absolutely, he should be out of this team. And I guess now with Hanley coming back and playing for the development team last night, as long as he comes through that, no problems in the next day or two, to me, he should be in the mix for Cardiff. So, maybe it's a say of execution rather than, the start of a continued presence in the lineup for Shane Duffy, because I don't think, and he'd be honest enough to admit, has his form merited him continuing in this team now?
And I don't think it would have done if Gibson would have been fit either. Which leads us on to Danny Bartz, which I can see a few comments coming in about him. Brought in the summer from Sunderland. Norwich, Blackburn were a team that wanted to sign Danny Bartz this summer. As Ben says here, surely he'll be annoyed not to be playing today. I mean, what are your thoughts on Danny Bartz? I think it's his 2 appearances off the bench. One was at Coventry. I'm trying to think of the other one. Which doesn't come to. There was one here, wasn't there? I think where he came on. Was it Stoke possibly for final minutes? I think
he played at Coventry, and within about a minute or two, Gibbo's heading into his own net. Yeah, so that went well.
So how do you think Danny Bartz will be feeling? There must be real frustration there, given that for all talk of Jayden Warner coming in, and there has been a clamour for that in recent weeks because of the performance against Fulham and what we saw. Danny Bartz has been in every matchday squad since he arrived, and he's still yet to start a game.
Yeah, I mean it's puzzling, really, because as I say, you can understand initially when he came in, it was all very dramatic in the closing minutes, as it was at that deadline night. The anecdote that was told to us was, I think it was a slightly later deadline for EFL deals, as opposed to this kind of book issue you can do, which they did with Alabama Daily because that was Premier League and Championship. But it was Danny Bartz ringing the football club here at 11:30. Am I a Norwich player? It was that harum scarum, and so fair enough. Even an experienced player like him, ease him in. But in recent games, given, like I say, how poor that those 2 individuals have been, pretty unfathomable, really. But we don't see it day to day at Colney. David and his coaches make these decisions, and too loyal for me to those other 2. And now with Gibson out. And also, I think more importantly, Hanley back, I think we'll start to see a bit of a shift in plates in terms of Norwich's central defence. But to bring it right back round to where we jumped in here, Jayden Warner now has a tremendous opportunity today in what's going to be a difficult afternoon. But if he comes in and grows visibly and looks accomplished and competent and comfortable at this level, then that's, irrespective of the result and irrespective of who's in charge moving forward, as in terms of the head coach, then you can feel, right, there's a player now who feels like he can come in and freshen it up and can add something to the mix, because it's felt so tired, end of the line, in need of something jump-starting. And hopefully today, you've obviously got Science in, and I've seen 1 or 2, why no Science? So players like him, players like Rowe are obviously doing it now, players like Warner. There has to be a sense of renewal from somewhere, because, at the minute it all feels very dispiriting, doesn't it?
It does. I see someone's mentioned Borja Sainz. We'll come back to him in just a moment. And just a word on the centre-backs as well. Shane Duffy, if he gets a yellow card, will receive a 1-match suspension for 5 yellow cards. So that's something that's worth keeping an eye on in the background. I think the deadline for that is December the 9th, I believe. So he's got about a month to survive that, which it doesn't quite look like is going to happen. Let's bring you the Blackburn lineup, which is here. They've got Waldstedt in goal, Rankin, Costello, Hill, Wharton and Pickering as a back 4. Wharton, I don't know if they're related. I hope they are brothers. Britton, Tronstad, Sammy Schmolix does make it. There was some concerns about his fitness. He starts and captains Blackburn with Moran on the left and Ty Stolen, who is quick, starts up front. And they've got a sub-bench of Joe Hilton, Arne Sigurdsson, Niall Ennis, Dylan Markany, Harry Leonard, Jake Batty, Lewis Travis, Jake Garrett and Tom Atson as well. And Blackburn, I was speaking to our equivalent at the Lancashire Telegraph, was telling me that they've been playing very well, creating a high amount of chances, conceding a high amount of chances as well, but perhaps not being as clinical as they would like. Let's come to Borja Signs then, Paddy. Doesn't start again today. I think there was a suggestion that Norwich City's under-21s were due to play Stoke on Monday, and that game got called off. I think Borja Signs would have been involved if that game would have gone ahead. Is it still a surprise that we're not seeing him in a position to start games?
Jen's not a fan of Grant Hanley, it would appear.
Have we spoken about Grant Hanley?
Well, I mean, only that, apparently we've talked him up as the saviour. I don't think I would say he's the saviour, but if he can't be any better than Duffy and Gibson, then there really is no hope. But there you go anyway.
Borja Signs.
Yeah. Borja Signs, yeah. I mean, another one going back to Warner and Fulham. I mean, he came on and within minutes he's linking up with Johnny Rowe and, penetrative, clever, intelligent movement and a finisher. So, yes, please. But, a little bit like how he seems to have wanted to manage some other players. Forshaw comes to mind. Even maybe Hanley up until the Gibson injury, because we wasn't going to see him till the other side of the international break upcoming, was the messaging last week. Obviously, that'll probably change now with Ben Gibson. But, I can see that point. I can see that. To be honest, I felt at Sunderland, I think the point was made there. Why don't you start him? And then if he's not able to do more than 45 or 60, you get him off. But at least he might have had an impact from the start in that environment. It's very hard, particularly the situation he's thrown into at Wearside. What were they, 2-1 down, or was it even 3-1 at that point? But anyway, you're chasing the game. Team's low on confidence. What can he feasibly do, really, in that environment? You're not really giving him much of a chance. So, they've clearly felt Rowe is a shoo-in. I think Nunes in that area of the pitch, he's worth another go. So for me, it's either Sainz or Hernandez, and he's tipped towards Onel, who... the game before Middlesbrough, I mean, he showed one or two glimpses, didn't he? So
it was his best performance certainly here for a while.
Exactly, yeah. But and again, he was then he came out, didn't he? Because he came off the bench. I think he came on for Forshaw at half time at Sunderland. So again, more kind of very confusing selections in and out, revolving doors. But as I said in my previous remarks, it feels like now it needs to see a Warner, it needs to see a Sainz, it needs to see something fresh and different, because the tried and trusted hasn't worked over these 10, 11 games, has it?
It hasn't. Let's look ahead to this game then. Blackburn come here. I think they played Chelsea in the EFL Cup in midweek, made quite a few changes, but it sounds like they were pretty competitive. Lost 1-0 to Swansea, and I think we're pretty under par last weekend. But before that, had won 3 on the bounce. So a funny team, quite a streaky team like Norwich, I guess, but create a high amount of chances. As we said before, finishing has maybe been more of the issue than chance creation. They concede a lot of chances as well. They're the only team in the Championship that gives away more shots per 90 on average than Norwich. So this is bound to be probably 0-0 now. I said that, but there should be goals this afternoon. They give away more than Norwich. Shots per game, yeah. They're the only team in the division that do.
Well, that's what David said, to be fair. He predicted there'd be goals. He didn't say how many would go in which particular net, and there would be goals.
Well, this is a game that Norwich City cannot afford to lose, Paddy, for the obvious reasons.
That sort of flows into, if you want to read that one from Neil.
What style of play are we expecting to see today, lads? Hi. I mean, to be honest, we saw a real departure from what David Barkin has tried to do at Sunderland last weekend, which I understand to an extent. It feels like today he's gone back to probably the status quo in terms of what he wants to do. But then if you lurch away from it one week and then try and return to it another, can you do that? I don't know. I think Blackburn will press them high. I'm not sure that will suit them particularly.
He said on Friday, sorry, in the section when he's talking about when your back's against the wall, the only direction you can come out is swinging, and then so that bleeds for me into the message into the players, and then consequently the type of performance he wants, which is front foot, fearless. They're the words he was using: brave, aggressive, back to when they've been good this season. That type of play, and for me, that probably reached its highest watermark. Maybe was it Millwall down here? They were good that day in that aspect of it, and then Southampton away, which I know was a draw, but you see what they've gone on to do since under Russell Martin, and they should have won that game really, but for that late penalty twist. But the manner of how they attacked that, and I know that included Barnes and Sargent. We can get into that debate all day long. They don't have that available now, but the essence of those performances for me is what we need to see today.
Norwich can't afford to lose, will they?
No, draw. I think 2-2.
I'm exactly with you. I was going to say 2-2, yeah, and a draw. I'll join you on the fence, and let's say I do think is that if the first goal goes against Norwich City today, you fear, don't you? Just in terms of what the atmosphere will be like.
What would the defeat mean, Connor, in your opinion, for David Wagner?
Not a lot, I don't think.
Off the back of them comments from
I still think he'll be in charge next weekend at Cardiff, and then I think we can have a look in the international break, can't we? But unless they get really beaten heavily here today, which I don't see. I really don't see any imminent change. Could be wrong on that, but and it may also depend on obviously the reaction of the fans in this place. But at present, the noises you hear on, and that's probably backed up by the quotes from Zoe Webber there, you just don't get that sense.
No, I'm speaking to people who are in and around this process, pre-Sunderland, post-Sunderland even, it was almost like what we've got as it is now, this game and then Cardiff away, and then an international break, and obviously at the very end of that, Ben Napper then officially starts. So the vibe that they were projecting at last weekend, both before and after, was we'll get these games done and then we'll get to November, and then if it's continued to be as bad as it has been of late, then they've got some headspace to do what they need to do with Ben Napper pretty much in the building. So I'm with you, and that's reaffirmed now by those Zoe Webber comments. There is no appetite clearly at the top of the tree in this football club to get rid of the manager. Whether that changes by the level of toxicity today, that depends on how badly they perform. So all bets are off for me. But my sense is no, he will still be in charge today. He will still be in charge against Cardiff, and then it's 2 weeks to take stock, and with Ben Napper then in the building, go from there.
If Norwich fail to win today, it will be 1 win in 10. If they get beat, it will be 8 defeats in 10. Those are the numbers that we are looking at. That seems like an apt place to leave it. Let's hope we're talking more positively about Norwich City after a really good performance against Blackburn today. That's the hope, that's the aim, and we will see how we get on. It's bound to be an interesting afternoon. Pinkin.com. You can join us on the app as well, live blog, etc., etc. And this man to my right will be putting the questions to Norwich City's head coach, David Wagner, post-match, win, lose or draw. It's going to be an interesting afternoon. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you